Hey guys, it's Priscilla from New York. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another episode of Priscilla's English Lessons. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about transportation and vocabulary commonly misused or not used in the correct way in daily life, especially if you're in a new city and you want to know how to get around, or if somebody asks you how you got around, you might want to know this vocabulary and how to use these words in a sentence. So when talking, you can say, I took a bus. I took a taxi. I took a cab. I took a plane. Whatever. You can also say, well, if you want to say I took a car, that kind of goes with taxi and a cab. You never, ever, ever want to say, I rode on the train, or I rode on the bus. This is something I very commonly hear in my daily life when somebody is in the subway or anywhere, especially newly English speakers say, I rode on the train. What this means is, here's the train and you rode on it. You rode on the train. I mean, if you do that, then that's dangerous, but I'm pretty sure that's not what you mean. You don't want to be doing this because that puts your life in danger. So you want to say, I took a bus, plane, taxi, or a cab. If you do want to use ride or rode in the past tense, you can say, I ride a bike, motorcycle, scooter, etc. These are the things that you can ride. Anything that you can get on top of and actually control, you can ride that, or you rode that. Anything where you're just kind of sitting and you're not on top of it, you took it. You took a bus, train, taxi, cab, plane. You can also ride a horse or a camel, depending on where you live. I don't know. Again, things that you can get on top of, maybe things that you can get top of, ride, road, whenever you want to use it, or whatever time period you're talking about. If you want to say, I drove, you don't necessarily have to say, I drove my car. You don't need to say that. If you say I drove, that already means you drove your car or your taxi or whatever the case. When you say I drove, people won't really assume that you drove a bus or you drove a plane. I mean, if you did, then you can say I drove a taxi or I drove my plane. But daily use-wise, most people don't drive their plane to get around. If you do, that's okay. You can just say, I drove, period. Many people also say, I go by car. Again, new English speakers will say this. No, I took a car or I drove. That's how it is. People also say, I go by foot. That means 1 foot. Did you walk on 1 foot? I mean, if you did, well, that's on you. But that's usually not what you want to say. You can just say, I walked. People also say, I walked on foot. If you're walking, most people assume that you're walking with your feet, whether that be your original feet or prosthetic legs or whatever. People usually assume that you're walking on foot, so you don't really need to say, I walked on foot. You can just say, I walk. This is the correct way to say that. So when you want to say, I got on or off a mode of transportation, I got on or off, whatever, you can say, I got on or off the plane. train, bus, etc. When you want to say I got in or out, you can say the taxi or the cab, etc. When you want to say I got in or out, taxi, cab, whatever, you can say a, the, or my, and then keep on going with the sentence. I got in a taxi. I got in the taxi. I got in my taxi. Or I got out a taxi. I got out the taxi. I got out my taxi. However you want to say that. Now there is a difference between when to use got on or off and when to use got in or out. I'm just gonna give you guys a second to see if you guys can spot the difference. Okay, did you guys get it? I hope so. The plane, train, bus, whatever, those are mostly public forms of transportation. There's usually more than one person on the plane, the train, the bus. It's usually a public mode of transportation, many people, and it's very big. Taxi or cab, that's mostly private. It may be with one or two people, but there's not many people, and it's mostly small compared to a plane, train, bus, or whatever. So I really hope this video helped you guys out when talking about transportation, especially if you're in a new city and you want to share with somebody how you got to a city or how you got to the destination that you are in right now. You definitely want to know how to say what you want to say, or some of these vocabulary, I guess. So once again, I hope this helps you out, and thank you guys very much for watching this video. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.